remarks about our industry. Who are the influences of Congress Secretary in the department? For having me on.
Welcome back everyone dito sa latest episode ng Deep Dive. Ito yung Pinas Foundation Group na natin na kasama natin of course si Dean Ed and of course si Prof. Ranjit. Marami tayong pag-usapan including shortly we'll also go through some of the latest Octa numbers and also about the upcoming surveys. But siguro magsimula muna tayo with the events of the past week or so. Dean Ed, what is your read since last time tayo nag-usap the other week about the Sara hearings? Of course, unanimously na forward na siya sa Committee on Justice. Where do you see the impeachment going? How exposed do you think was the Vice President based on alleged anomalies and corruption?
Well, it's becoming increasingly difficult for the Vice President not to come up with a credible answer, no, based on what has been presented so far. Kasi medyo daming yung evidence that was presented in the hearings that was conducted by the Committee on Justice, no? We're not only talking about the testimonial evidence, yung kay Madriaga, but particularly, I think more importantly, was the documentary evidence that was presented by officials of the government, no? That carries a heavy weight of presumption of regularity. Kaya nga, my point has always been that I think the Vice President should seriously rethink about her earlier decision not to appear before the Committee on Justice. Kasi as it is right now, the allegations against her have not been refuted, and she's the only one who is in a credible position to do that right now, no? But apparently she's still stonewalling and she's not made any decision to appear before the Committee on Justice. And I think on the basis of that alone, it makes it easier for members of the Committee on Justice to, in fact, endorse her impeachment into a full-blown trial into the Senate.
Exactly. Prof. Ranjit, before we go pa to the surveys and the whole Lenny Sara thing, what is your read so far dito sa hearing, Sen? What is the difference from last year? Obviously, wala pa tayong survey on this, but what are the numbers we had going into these hearings at saka ano yung mga dynamics na nakikita natin and potential implications?
Okay, so number one, Okta released a survey about 2 weeks ago saying precisely that 69% of our kababayans want to hear a trial, no? So impeachment is no longer just a legal, political, or institutional process. It's now, at least how it has evolved, it's now a political legitimacy test on, or it has always been, but now more so, legitimacy test for the Vice President. We've heard the difference from last year. We actually heard the evidence. That's the fundamental difference from last year. Last year, hardly anyone knew what the true case was. There was a case filed, but we didn't know the details. Now, we had a preliminary hearing in the House to determine probable cause. And I think last year, we didn't have that. This year, I think people are more informed about what are the allegations against her. And based on the survey, at least of Okta, the public mood can be best understood as, di ba, in Filipino, harapin ang kaso, dinggin ang ebidensya, at hayaan, gumana yung proseso. So that's why there's a lot of support for, there's a clear public opinion supporting the trial. And this is for both sides, no? So, one could also look at the details, the fine details of the allegations. I think that most damning for me is not really the Madriaga, because it's very hard to prove that case. I'm not a lawyer, but from what I've heard, it's he said, she said. But what was damning was really the SALN, the mismatch between what she wrote in her SALN and of course what was actually found, no, in terms of bank transactions. So at the very at its minimum, she made a mistake in her SALN, and that undermines her legitimacy completely, in my view. Second, of course, is the grave threats. I think those were very strongly developed cases, and in my view, that's enough probable cause, no, to push it to the Senate.
Pero surprising yan, diba? Dapat expect natin, dapat last year pa yan, diba? It's not like yung threats ay this year. Actually, the threats against the president naman nung isang taon pa. The SALN issue, hindi ba automatically yan? I mean, Prof. Ranjit, even yung mga empleyado sa UP and all, you have to sign a SALN, and there you give the
Yeah.
power to the ombudsman to check kung may anomalies at any point. So imagine if you're the vice president of the country at ang pinag-usapan dito, bilyones. So, Dean Ed, I mean, bakit kaya ngayon lang natin nakita itong mga to? Parang hindi ba yun ang mga low-hanging fruit nung isang year pa? Why didn't they do it in the first hearing? The
Well,
first impeachment. Yeah.
Yeah, Richard, what is fundamentally different with the process right now is that remember that there was a decision made by the Supreme Court which kind of reset the tone for how impeachment hearings would be conducted. The hearing that is being done by the Committee on Justice right now was never required previously, no? In fact, during the Corona trial, during the previous impeachment hearings, that was never a requirement. But because of that decision made by the Supreme Court, it is now mandatory on the part of the Committee on Justice to do it. So, it's a double-edged sword if you are the one who's on trial, because on the one hand, you have actually an opportunity to sort of control the narrative very early. And yet, on the other, if you don't avail of that remedy that is available to you, um, it becomes a sort of a test case. We know for a fact that the impeachment is not completely a legal proceeding. No, it's sort of a test case of what is going to be seen in the trial proper. And for now, I think the people who are running the Committee on Justice hearing has done a good job at presenting what basically would be the framework of the hearing should it proceed to the Senate, no? As mentioned earlier by Professor Ranjit, medyo open and shut if you ask me, no, yung documentary evidence kasi can you imagine, no, not declaring any cash at all, zero, and then coming up, well, anyway, yung excuse that it's lumped together under others, that did not come from the vice president. It came from her lawyers without the benefit of being subjected to whatever legal proceeding should they be found lying. Kaya it's different eh. Maybe baka nagkaroon pa siguro it may have some kind of positive effect for her if that was done in the halls of Congress or within the Committee on Justice, but that was never done. So as of now, it is not refuted and it stands, no? Kaya to me, problematic yun. And as correctly pointed out by Professor Ranjit kanina, my sense is that the 69% that was in the Okta research runs both ways eh. No, not only those who are perhaps looking for, in fact, a conviction on the part of the vice president, but even her supporters.
Vindication. Oh.
Oo, kasi as of now, kumbaga, bugbog na bugbog ka. Eh, kung tayo man naniniwala sa narrative ng pelikula, kailan ka babangon para pagtanggol yung sarili mo? No? Mukhang hinihintay ng mga tao yun, I think.
Yun yung parang unintended consequence ng the Supreme Court coming in. Parang be careful what you wish for. Obviously, ingat ako sa mga sasabihin ko dahil may Damocles sword
Ingat
sa
lang,
akin.
ingat.
Yes. Kaya nga nandito ako ng konti, nagpapalamig since last year. But Prof. Ranjit, I mean, is there a survey, do you have a number about yung perceptions ng Supreme Court on this issue? Because may recent ruling na naman ng Supreme Court, although I think si Justice Leonen may very nuanced ang take niya dito sa latest. In a way, hindi ba yung parang be careful what you wish for, parang nag-backfire pa kay Sara. And you had this weird situation whereby parang they were asking once again for Supreme Court to come in to kind of give them a way out of the way out according to other people from the previous ruling. So you also had the Supreme Court being very much part of this discussion, which is a national legitimacy democratic issue.
Yeah, we don't have a survey as of now as to people's sentiments about the Supreme Court. Well, that in itself, is, I think far from the minds of our kababayans now. One thing's for sure, and I agree with Ed, no? The biggest is, the impeachment is going to move forward. We know that. It's going to get support in the House. It will move to the Senate. And tama si Dean Ed, no? For Duterte, the biggest political risk is not really the impeachment process. It's appearing afraid of scrutiny. it's gonna happen, and the cases will move forward. It's inevitable at this point, and there's enough probable cause, no, to evolve a consensus in the House. But see, the impeachment process by itself is both a political and legal. It's a constitutional legal process. That is one battlefield. But in the case of VP Duterte, she has to be mindful, no, that the bigger political battlefield is if the vice president appears evasive, defensive, unwilling to face scrutiny, the political damage may exceed, no, whatever this process will bring her. So the long-term damage might be bigger, no, than the legal strategy that she's trying to run at the moment. The avoidance in the case of the example of Dean Ed, yung palusot, di ba? In public opinion, avoidance can be more costly than accusation. So she has to appear visible now, willing to confront the process. And she can't hide behind her own lawyers, because that's not good for her own perceptions about her becoming our forthcoming leader. The allegations are quite serious. And Dean Ed and I are one here. The strongest cases are the grave threat, because it shows character. And then, of course, the SALN, which, by the way, 1.5 million government employees signed. I am a government employee, and I'm a proud government employee working in UP. And we take pains, no, to sign that document. It's a legal document. And we take it very seriously. And not casually. We don't put our cash on hand in others, because it's clear in the form. There's a law that frames it. I'm not saying she should be convicted. I'm just saying that it seems clear for most government employees. And we have to remember that famous case that was discussed during the Corona impeachment trial, no, where a public school teacher was kicked out, no, of government service for simply forgetting that she had a stall in a wet market somewhere in the provinces. And here, it's not that she forgot a few 100 pesos, a few 1,000 pesos, maybe a few million pesos. It's hundreds of millions. It's in the billions. So this is really damning evidence. Now, of course, there might be an explanation, but it should come from her now. Her strongest political posture is not resistance. It's actually to be visible, willing, and able to confront the process moving forward. We need to hear from her and get assurance from her na, oy, hindi naman tama. Pero of course, between us three, no, boys, ang hirap naman. I don't know how you're going to explain the SALN. Honestly, it's like
yung explanation ng abogado niya, dumaan lang naman, hindi naman nagstay. Parang open highway lang naman. We saw some interesting accounting rules.
Yeah, I know.
No? CPA.
Hindi, kasi mahirap po yung palusot. Lalo na kunyari, dumadaan lahat dito sa proseso na to. Military, the police, our teachers, they all signed this SALN. Alam namin kung paano ka importante to. Kung magkamali ka nga to, hindi ka nga mag-submit nito, tanggal ka sa government. Ganun, alam mo, kaming mga public school teachers, ako in particular, wala mo nang kami malalagay sa SALN. Yun ang problema namin. Nakakahiya yung SALN namin in terms of the net worth.
Negative.
Tapos,
negative.
So much pain. We take it very seriously, Richard. And tandaan nyo the SALN, whether you like it or not, your wife, whether she's working or not, you have to include her accounts also. So klarong-klaro yan sa mga government employees, siniseryoso yan. And it's unfortunate na lumabas to kasi there was no indication that, she really made a mistake until the AMLAC revealed the money coming in and out. And, it would have been good if it was just a few 100,000, pero 6 billion in transactions, 4 billion coming in, 1 billion, more than 1 billion coming out. And then for a few years, she did not say she had cash on hand. And there was movement in the bank accounts, more than 200 million pesos moving in and out. So, mahirap Richard, ewan ko para sa akin mahirap yung sitwasyon niya. But there might be,
Yeah.
alam mo, there might be answer to all of this. Let's give her the due process she deserves.
Oo naman, yun nga ang problema. Is she okay with the due process? Kasi parang I think
She's not
the problem
willing
is that
to.
she doesn't also want the due process. She doesn't want the
Yeah.
conclusion. She doesn't want the due process. Kaya yun yung quote-unquote palusot concern. Dean, and obviously, it looks like the numbers will be there without allegedly inducements that we saw in the past. Mukhang, according to Associate Justice Ronald Llamas, mukhang may 150 plus na they will forward this to the Senate. But obviously in the Senate, it's a numbers game. And at the same time, in the Senate, there could be a number of senators who could face also their own moment of reckoning. Not to mention there are certain senators na still MIA or could soon be an MIA. How are we seeing this in the Senate? Because the actual legal trial will be in the Senate, not in the Congress.
No, what we can say, Richard, is that it's a live game. It's still unfolding. So it's not yet we can't say that we already know
Hindi
how
siya
it will
set in
end.
stone,
Kasi,
moving target.
kasi it's there are a lot of moving parts and we don't know yet. As you mentioned, syempre, when it goes to the Senate, I know that the Senate would be monitoring the research conducted by Okta because they'll also be responding to the sentiments of the people. Kaya I'm sure Professor Ranjit would be very busy in those coming days, no? And apart
I
from
hope
that,
not.
well, we will see. But
Ayaw ng
I think it's
scrutiny.
inevitable eh. Mukhang inevitable dahil, titignan talaga nila yun eh. But also, with respect to your question, as you mentioned, merong hindi nagpapakita. Merong nagpapakita, but there is a very big sword of Damocles hanging over their heads. And who knows when they can get arrested anytime soon, either by Philippine authorities or even by the International Criminal Court. Who knows? I mean, so the calculus could change very, very fast. No, it's fluid at this point. Eh. So we don't know what's going to happen. So yung mga nagsasabing it's a foregone conclusion in the House and then in the Senate she will not get convicted. We don't know that yet. I mean, it's too premature to say that at this point.
The numbers could work. I mean, Prof. Ranjit, what about Senator Robin Padilla? Lalayas na lang daw siya. What about that? Could that be a game changer kung dahil nawala na siya ng pag-asa sa ating sistema? Some of us are thinking he should stay there because of him, we had a very good 2025 elections. Walang masyadong nanalong kakaibang candidates. But kidding aside, I mean, how are you looking at the Senate basically scenario there?
It's important, to understand that the impeachment is being watched by a lot of people. We know 69% of our kababayans want it to happen for many reasons, no? Di ba, we talked about, many Filipinos want to hear the case. Some Filipinos want, to hear the evidence. Others want it to be a platform for due process and allowing the defense of their beloved vice president. Others want to see it as a constitutional process moving forward. For most Filipinos, supporting the trial is not necessarily supporting conviction. This is important, Richard. No, so I think the impeachment process is an important political and constitutional process, but I think the big risk for VP Sara is that it might end up becoming an event for political conversion. You understand? She has already decided to run, and the long-term risk is, it could break her, or if the process is not, rebuild herself. But if it's mishandled by the senators, it's perceived to be, unfair. Diba? The strategic outlook is not good either for the Senate or for VP Duterte. Kasi I feel the impeachment process will likely be less about the allegations and more how its implications are interpreted by our public.
Yeah, I mean, Dean,
this is not simply a constitutional legal contest. This yeah,
Prof. Ranjit,
it's a
maybe
battle of narrative
you
also.
wanna say yung mga
Okay.
kapitbahay mo to not
Yeah,
use
yeah.
the internet that much. So we're getting a little bit of cut off. But before Dean Ed leaves us, because we want to go drill into the Okta numbers shortly. Dean Ed, obviously the other big issue is malapit na yung 2028 elections, and we'll discuss this more with Prof. Ranjit shortly. Lenny is picking up momentum, or whoever is the potential candidate of the other side. How is this? How does this play into that equation? Na for Sara, it's not only surviving, it's not only not coming off as guilty, it's not only not getting impeached, but also holding on to her lead in the pre-election surveys, holding on to that momentum na mukhang slowly and slowly nagsislip through her finger. Or at least yan ang indication ng some of the surveys. We can discuss more.
Well, you can even look at it anecdotally, no? Kasi ako, I am convinced that the invincibility that was so-called, used to describe the vice president before is obviously being dismantled right before our eyes. And it's good that again, Okta conducted the survey that in fact verified this point. The window between Vice President Sara and I think in the case of Okta si Lenny yung binanggit doon is dwindling. So it's within reach, no? If I'm not mistaken, it's 46-35, di ba, Ranjit? And then with a good number of
It's
undecided.
narrower. It's narrowed.
Yeah, this one, no? So
The
ibig
other
sabihin,
yeah.
just a few months back or a few years a year ago, medyo people would not take these kinds of surveys seriously. But ako, I think aside from that, even anecdotally with the people on the ground, medyo gaining traction yung possibility that yung inevitability ng Sara Duterte presidency is not necessarily true. So medyo delikado yan sa 2028. And I'd
Yeah.
like to pivot to what Ranjit said earlier. Kaya if Sara is watching her numbers, she has to control this. Kasi yung nakita natin so far, patikim pa lang yun. And I'm sure when it reaches the Senate, these guys are masters in, coming up with a very good narrative. We've seen that before.
Yeah.
And it will become another telenovela that would occupy the people for days and perhaps weeks on end. And we've seen that it's history repeating itself, if you ask me. Kaya I don't know if the vice president takes this matter very seriously, but she's in trouble unless she comes up with a credible, believable defense. Huwag naman yung others naman kasi it's an insult naman to kalokohan naman yun. And I think even the group of accountants came out saying na wala namang ganun. Wala namang lokohan kasi it's insulting to our logic and intelligence. I've been filing SALN for the past 26 years myself, and alam ko naman I've never filed any SALN na wala akong nilalagay na cash kahit magkano kasi it's impossible. How can you
Na
live, di
wala
ba?
kang cash. Tama.
Na wala kang cash at wala kang pera sa bangko.
Zero.
Yeah, I mean, and well, if you ask me talaga, yung reason na others, kahit sila, they found it difficult to explain. Medyo kwan yun, medyo stretch masyado, tingin ko.
Thank you for that, Dean Ed. So I think that's a perfect segue kasi isang explanation na kita ko is bakit tayo nagfo-focus sa impeachment ni Sara? May mga mas importanteng bagay katulad ng energy crisis, inflation. Maybe Prof. Ranjit, that could carry the day for them. So can we go through the survey? Thank you very much again to Dean Ed for his excellent inputs. Pag-usapan natin to, Prof. Ranjit. No? So ano yung latest surveys natin sa Okta in terms of most urgent issue bago natin balikan itong Lenny versus Sara dynamic?
Yeah, okay. So we had a survey conducted in the first quarter, and in that survey, we looked at the urgent national concerns of Filipinos. Richard, we consider this particular probe as one of the most important probes that comes out of Okta every quarter. So whether you're a politician, a citizen, a regular citizen, or a member of government doing public policy, this is what people are saying government should urgently deal with. Now, of course, number one is, as you can see from the slide, inflation. the rise in the price of goods. While we all know technically government can't really do so much about that. No, kasi it's really a complex thing, especially given the geopolitical environment and the fact that we're really experiencing the worst effects of this oil price shock because of the instability in the Middle East. No. Second, of course, is the issue of wages. Today is Labor Day, no? National Labor Day, no? And
And obviously related yung dalawa. Inflation, you need higher wages to cope with inflation.
yes,
Basically,
wages.
two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. I think what's surprising here is really that despite the economic pressures,
Ang taas pa rin corruption, no?
26% of our Filipino kababayan still think that number 3, it's still important to look at graft and corruption.
Even higher than
why
reducing
we are-
poverty, no? Even higher than reducing poverty, which tells you gaano
Yes,
kayo
yes.
corruption
In
issue.
fact, these are the two. I think what's positive about this survey from last quarter is that access to affordable food, at least in the first quarter, went down. Reducing poverty continues to go down as issues. And for our kababayans, the political issue, the governance issue of corruption remains important. And in their minds, while gut issues are primary and they're most urgent, they feel that good governance, the management of our resources, our financial resources are important issues still. And I think that's the big story in this particular survey. And government did well in access to food. The food program, the murang rice, the rollout in the first quarter, I think was good. That's why it went down. It went down almost double digits, Richard. So this was a big story, including for poverty. So whether it's the fourth quarter or the fourth quarter of 2025 or the first quarter of 2026, before the war, so we have to be very clear. This was before the worst effects of the Middle East crisis hit us, no? The oil price shock. So this is a pre-war baseline data. We do not expect in Okta that these numbers will continue to be the same when we get our data on the second quarter, where I think many of our kababayans are feeling and continue to feel the negative impact of this oil price shock, no? In fact, next week tataas na naman yung ating petroleum products, no?
After
prices.
rollback initially,
After a 2-week initial rollback, where our kababayans are already feeling it in Meralco, with other affordability issues, no? So may affordability crisis na rin tayo. So it's starting to creep in. And given that there's no end in sight as far as the Middle East conflict is concerned, we can expect that this will continue, to be, it will continue to get worse before it gets better. But the numbers are going to change. Yeah.
Prof. Ranjit, obviously, ang i-connect natin dito is, to what degree do you think yung issue ng good governance or corruption has been helping Lenny's numbers? Because siya yung embodiment ng good governance, diba? I mean, we can have a long debate about competence, whatever, who's the best, most competent. But in terms of good governance and all, very solid yung image ni Mayor Lenny, Vice President Lenny, in terms of yung COA ratings, everything, all indicators suggest that she was arguably the at least the cleanest, if not the most competent vice president in recent memory. So obviously, kung itong issue ng corruption investigations, hearings, gain traction, and then up to a third almost of ng ating mga kababayan are concerned about corruption, that strengthens momentum for Lenny, and that conversely also doesn't help the so far front runner, which is Sara Duterte, diba? And we see this huge jump in Lenny's number, 12-13%, while 5% drop for Sara Duterte. What are the factors you think are contributing to that, and how does that play yung dun sa the issue of good governance na mukhang it's once again gaining a lot of traction, top 2, top 3 issue sa ating bansa?
Which is what I wanted to emphasize earlier.
Yeah.
The impeachment process that we're going to go through will
Right.
really be a war of narratives.
Yeah.
And it will either delegitimize or legitimize a particular candidate.
Right.
Or a prospective prospective candidate. Especially if it's established that there was real, that the vice president was really, there was some corruption that happened, and that there's no reasonable explanation. Then this, as I was saying, the impeachment will turn out to be not just a political constitutional process; it will be a political conversion event.
Right.
So and you're saying it already that a quarter of our population see corruption as an important issue, or fighting corruption as an important issue. And if you are convicted of corruption, that will your numbers will definitely get hit. It also doesn't help that Mayor Robredo is not part of the administration.
Yeah.
So she's an independent. She has a clean record. She's coming in with a very good track record as far as good governance is concerned, and that's going to be highlighted, especially in the war of narratives.
Yeah.
That is likely to be one of the most important outcomes of this impeachment process. It's a war of narratives. Who is the accountable candidate? Who's the corrupt candidate? The public, more than the outcome of the impeachment process, which is unclear now, and seems to favor the vice president as far as the Senate is concerned, is that it's not really about the vice president being guilty at the end of the process. It's whether Filipinos will continue to believe her as a legitimate heir apparent to the presidency after the whole process.
Right.
Mukhang baka maging damaged goods nga siya after this. Kasi right now, we're not seeing that her numbers are going to go up. Her trust and the legitimacy that she used to have, very strong as far as the public perception. Now that the public is increasingly knowledgeable about the issues, and she's not willing naman to explain it, completely and effectively, baka her numbers will take a hit, and that somebody might be Mayor Lenny, will probably gain from the process. But we all know that's a problem. Anticlimactic si Mayor Lenny. She just said she's not going to run. After the momentum is on her side.
We heard that before.
I should say a kind of democracy and good governance. People are yearning for something like that, a leader, a movement that reflects that.
Exactly. So we last part of our discussion, Prof. Ranjit, so we had Isang Bayan, Wang Sambayan convener, one of them, Justice Carpio, also on this show earlier, kung saan it looks like they're still hoping na it's Lenny, and tingin nila if Sara's numbers go down with all scrutiny dun sa kanyang good governance record, Lenny's numbers are bound to go up, and she's gaining momentum. I think you may have also seen, I had the back and forth also with Senator Kiko on this, because I think Senator Kiko is also very strongly saying na dapat Lenny na talaga, ito na, she could be the standard bearer. So the last point I want to ask you is Lenny the only one competitive here? Potentially. I mean, if Lenny doesn't run, tapos na ba ang laban? Panalo ng mga Dutertes? Or are Bam and Risa and other candidates, I know you cannot release the full surveys you have, but to the degree that you can share, aren't the others also potentially competitive if Lenny endorses them, if Lenny's not the one who runs, but actually they run as a standard bearer? Just to put things into context, Lenny lang ba talaga? Or actually others are competitive too?
Actually, that's not true also, no? I think there are other potential candidates. It's just that in the list that we had, that's that list. There are 26 names. And then for now lang naman, Richard, she's the most preferred. But if she decides to take her name out of the list, I'm sure it will gravitate to another alternative. Because there are lots of other alternatives. And this impeachment process, as I told you, the more legitimate it is, the more that people are able to access the court hearings and all of the allegations back and forth. It will become a conversion event. People will start rethinking their support and go to other candidates, especially if Mayor Lenny does decide not to run. But you have
done, diba, in your private surveys, head-to-head na other potential candidates na hindi Lenny, let's say Bam and Risa. I mean, again, I know you cannot share the whole data, but just for people to understand the lay of the land. Kasi mukhang, I think, medyo simplistic ang understanding tao dito ng potential configurations.
You see, it's still early kasi, Richard, and that Lenny's in the list pa rin eh. So what can we say about the findings, the most recent findings? Number one, okay, anong strategic political takeaways? Number one, Sara Duterte is still the front runner, but now there's no narrative of inevitability, invincibility anymore. She remains the national leader at 46%, but she's beatable now. You can see naman in the numbers, no? Number two, Leni Robredo is not anymore on the fringe. Okay? She's not anymore on the fringe, and she's actually gained ground over the last few quarters, no? To 11 no, I think it's 11. No? The spread is 11 percentage points, no? It used to be 30, 40 points. Sara used to be 30, 20 to 30 points ahead.
Yeah.
Now it's a completely different story. Completely different story. And so those are some of the findings, no? The gap has narrowed. And when you look at the spread, it's a country divided, no, Richard? It's a country divided. Eh. Look at that map. When you look at balanced Luzon, okay, when you look at VP Duterte's base, it's been Mindanao. In Mindanao, she has 88% of that vote. If there's a hypothetical, no, again, to our kababayans, this is just a hypothetical survey. This is not predictive of anything. It's just the sentiment at this point. What's surprising about this particular survey is that for the whole year of 2025, it was always Sara Duterte on top, double digits, really wide margins between her and other prospective candidates, except for the first quarter of 2026, where suddenly VP Leni surges, her numbers rise to 35%, still not yet above Sara Duterte's 46, but so much closer. Okay, now where's the vote of VP Duterte? It's in Mindanao, it's in Central Visayas, as you can see in the map. In Mindanao, she has 88%. That's the max. She's maxing out in Mindanao. There's nothing much more she can get. She has to now get in NCR and in balanced Luzon. So in NCR, it's also maxing out. Richard, look at do you have the slide where you have the details? Yeah. So if her base is in the south, VP Leni has surged in the National Capital Region. She has a 20 percentage point lead over VP Sara Duterte. A 20 percentage. Are you listening? That's a big number. In balanced Luzon, she has an even bigger. Mayor Leni has an even bigger lead, more than 22%, 22 percentage points. But I think, given the undecided, 19%, there's still so much room, no, for these numbers to change, and it's likely that balanced Luzon will be the battleground for this particular election. And so these are the strategic takeaways. The gap has narrowed. The race is open. There's no narrative of invincibility or inevitability, it seems.
Absolutely. And in the same way na hindi na inevitable si Sara Duterte, it doesn't also apply to other candidates, right? Which is my point. Na it's also premature to stay almost 2 years removed from the election day in 2028. Na ito lang pwede or siya na talaga. But nevertheless, of course, momentum is behind former VP Mayor Leni Robredo, who obviously I think very much is in a good position to rally a significant section of the public, especially sa gitna ng itong mga concern about corruption, good governance, among others, that is adversely affecting the front runner in the race so far. Thank you so much, Prof. Ranjit. Kanina lang medyo naka-cut out ka, pero parang pag dito hindi ka na-cut out. I wonder why. Thank you so much, Prof. Ranjit.
Thank you.
Looking forward
Thank you.
to more exchanges on this, and have a lovely evening, and talk to you soon. God bless po.
Thank you.
Salamat.
Bye.